What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, afternoon, pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hassan Piker, and this is the HasanDaily broadcast coming to you live from New Jersey, ladies and gentlemen, the motherland, the fatherland, whatever you want to call it, the greatest state of all time, the Garden State, the state known for its long highways, the turnpike, its greenery, and nothing else. Apparently, you got a mention in this New York Times article, too. Wait, New York Times picked up the story. It started as Hasbro slop. A candidate's past ties to a militant cleric are resurfacing in a New Jersey House race. Yeah, so this is nasty. So the New York Times is basically working in tandem by even covering this with this framing, is doing a very nasty thing, okay? So we talked about this briefly, but this is like the last minute hit piece that came from Jewish Insider that basically was like, oh, Dr. Adam Hamawy, he did humanitarian work all around the world, including in Bosnia. And one of the organizations, I guess, had ties to the blind Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman. And it's so ridiculous to say this about like a decorated army combat medic who literally saved Tammy Duckworth's life. Dr. Adam Hamawy has worked in combat zones, both as an army combat medic and also as a doctor, like separately from that. He's done aid missions in Bosnia and also Gaza, specifically in Gaza twice. And Jewish Insider is trying to turn him into a terrorist. And this was their big scoop. Big scoop, Jewish Insider via Will Brederman. Leading New Jersey Dem congressional candidate Adam Hamawy volunteered with Al-Qaeda-tied group in Bosnia. Hamawy worked with Benevolence International Foundation, later shuttered as an Al-Qaeda front. Two things that are really stupid here. Number one, America in that conflict, in that genocide, was on the side of the Muslims. A little reductive to explain it as such, but like the Muslims were the ones being slaughtered. So I don't even understand how this could ever be a fucking story, but they're still trying it regardless, where they're like, hey, this guy who was a first responder at 9/11, this guy who was in Bosnia trying to sew kids back together, and in Gaza doing the same, who also literally saved Tammy Duckworth's life, cherished, celebrated combat medic. This doctor is actually a bad guy. He's Muslim. And therefore, Al-Qaeda, maybe? So Jewish Insider doing this article is one thing, but the New York Times posting it like this is nasty. Adam Hamawy, a plastic surgeon, a U.S. Army veteran whose parents emigrated from Egypt when he was 7 months old, is running for Congress as a healer of sorts. He's traveled on humanitarian missions in conflict zones, including Gaza. And he's put the issue of healthcare at the center of his campaign for New Jersey's 12th congressional district, saying that money spent on war should be instead used for universal Medicare coverage. And they hate that. Okay? People hate that. When you say, hey, we shouldn't be spending money on bombs, we should be spending money on our healthcare, people go, what are you, a fucking anti-Semite? What are you, Adolf Hitler? Are you kidding me? And you're like, what? No, I just want healthcare for people in the richest country on the planet. I think this is doable. And they go, wow, you are literally the reincarnation of Adolf Hitler. You're worse than Adolf Hitler, actually. Adolf Hitler would be shocked at your deep resentment towards Jewish people. You should be imprisoned. Adam responds, I go to disaster areas, and that's where I'm needed now, Dr. Hamawy said in an interview referring to Capitol Hill. He has emerged as a frontrunner in the extraordinarily crowded race to fill the seat being vacated by retiring Representative Bonnie Wasson-Coleman. At one point, 17 Democrats were in the mix. The field has since dwindled to a mere dozen, including a well-known former leader of the state's Working Families Alliance, a state assemblywoman, 2 mayors, a patent lawyer, the owner of a chain of fitness studios, and a Princeton University neuroscience with expertise in gerrymandering. The winner of Tuesday's election will be heavily favored to win in November. Dr. Hamawy has led the race for campaign cash and has landed endorsements from such left-wing luminaries as Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Hassan Piker of the Internet. Hassan Piker of the Internet, who appeared with them on Saturday for a Get Out the Vote rally in Trenton. A newly formed pro-Palestinian political action committee, American Priorities, has spent more than $1.5 million on ads that highlight Dr. Hamawy's work as a surgeon, a figure that dwarfs the campaign budgets of every other candidate. His critics have been trying with growing urgency to highlight an earlier part of Dr. Hamawy's history, a gap year the future surgeon spent between graduating from Rutgers University, New Brunswick in 1991 and entering the university's medical school the next year. It was then that Dr. Hamawy began spending time with Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman, a blind militant Islamist who lived and preached in New Jersey. 4 years later, Mr. Abdul Rahman would be tried and convicted of inspiring the violence that contributed to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. He died in 2017 while serving a life sentence. During Mr. Abdul Rahman's trial in 1995, Dr. Hamawy, then 26, was called as a defensive witness by the Sheikh's lawyers as they tried to undermine the federal government's star witness, Ahmad Salam, who was paid $1 million by federal officials while working as an informant and also admitted to lying under oath. Mr. Salem had testified during that road trip to Detroit the Sheikh had encouraged him to kill former President of Egypt, Hosni Mubarak. Prosecutors had also charged Mr. Abdul Rahman with being at the center of blah, blah, blah. It's all this shit about the fucking Black Sheikh, right? Dr. Hamawy, who traveled in a van with the two men, testified that he did not recall hearing Mr. Abdul Rahman to say that to Mr. Salem. In the course of his testimony, he also told jurors that he helped the blind cleric translate a fax from Egypt in 1993, spent time in his apartment, and listened to him speak at area mosques. Dr. Hamawy, who is now 56, was never accused of wrongdoing, except we're going to imply that he is. Do you see what this is? It's like he wasn't actually accused of any wrongdoing, and he has an incredible history. Literally, 9/11 first responder, okay? Went to Bosnia, went to Gaza. Would you look at that, folks? Actually, this guy, he's bad. This guy that you think is good, well, what if he was bad, actually? You might have thought that this guy who saved the life of Tammy Duckworth as an army combat medic, what if you were to assume he's a bad guy instead? I'll have you know he is Muslim, just so you understand. He is very Muslim. He's very Muslim style. Dr. Hamawy, who's 56, was never accused of wrongdoing and went on to serve with distinction as an army combat surgeon during the Iraq War, where he helped save the life of U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, a Democrat who has also endorsed him. On September 11, 2001, like his background sounds insane. He literally is like Captain America. But the problem is, Captain America is not supposed to be a brown Muslim guy. That's the problem. He's literally there. Anytime there is disaster taking place, he's there with his hands trying to heal people. And these guys still find a fucking way. Like when you're a Muslim American, it doesn't even fucking matter. Like there is no comparison with his background. If he was a white guy, they would be like, when do we make him president? Can you imagine? Instead of Adam Hamawy, his name was, I don't know, Adam Handsome. And he's a white guy from Kentucky with this fucking background. Okay. And he was related to some church group or something, right? When he was like 26 years old. And the church group was involved in something else, right? Like the church group was involved in like nefarious dealings or whatever, right? And were prosecuted by the government. That's also ridiculous. That rarely ever happens. But then he went on to join the fucking army as a combat surgeon during the Iraq War, saved the life of a senator, was there at ground zero on 9/11 as a first responder, and then went to Gaza. Like, it's just not even a question. People will be like, dude, I know the Gaza stuff is the main reason why these guys are so aggressive, right? Because if he was doing all that and he was pro-Israel, these articles would not be getting written about him. Let's continue. On September 11, 2001, he and other residents in New York Presbyterian went to Ground Zero to treat those injured in the second terror attack on the World Trade Center. Andrew C. McCarthy, the lead prosecutor of Mr. Abdul Rahman's trial, and Michael B. Mukasey, the federal judge who oversaw the case and later served as President George W. Bush's attorney general, published essays earlier this month reminding readers of Dr. Hamawy's link to the infamous cleric, Mr. McCarthy. Writing for the National Review, referred to Mr. Hamawy as a sympathizer. Mr. Mukasey described Dr. Hamawy as more than a casual traveling companion of the Sheikh. Dr. Hamawy said his life's work disproves the guilt by association innuendo. I've spent my life really saving lives rather than taking them, he said, while campaigning in Trenton the day the essays were published. I'm against all war and all violence, he said. An aide said Dr. Hamawy had no contact with Mr. Abdul Rahman after his arrest. Dr. Hamawy has distanced himself from the Sheikh on the campaign trail, saying, I condemn his violent rhetoric and actions. When pressed on what had motivated him to travel Mr. Abdul Rahman as a younger man, Dr. Hamawy downplayed the cleric's reputation for fiery rhetoric, calling him a blind old man who was dependent on volunteers from the Muslim community to care for him. He wasn't preaching death and destruction all the time, Dr. Hamawy added. He had certain views that he spoke in certain forms, but that's not what he did every single day. On the witness stand, however, Dr. Hamawy made clear he understood that the Sheikh saw Israel and the United States as enemies of Islam. When asked if he recalled the cleric stating that Muslims had to do jihad against the enemies of Islam, he said he did. Of course, that's what he always talked about, Dr. Hamawy testified. He talked about jihad. 3 decades later, Dr. Hamawy does not shy away from criticizing Israel and the U.S. military aid. Oh, he's doing Islamic-style infiltration. Thank you, New York Times. This is the New York Times, in the least subtle way possible, saying, Dr. Adam Hamawy, do not look at his incredible reputation as a lifesaver, a guy who threw his body on the line his entire life. Do not look at that. Look at the fact that he's criticizing Israel and America Islamically. He is, in some ways, following through on the promise of the blind sheik. That's basically what they're fucking saying. It's one of the grossest things I have ever seen. Oh my God. We are not supposed to be selling weapons, any kind of weapons, to any country that's breaking international humanitarian law, that is committing a genocide or atrocities, he told Mr. Piker, a leftist streamer who's been criticized by some Democrats in an April interview. It's like giving a bully body armor to go bully people some more, Dr. Hamawy said, of U.S. support for Israel's defensive weapons. We need to be able to have them feel the effects of war, and then they'll stop, and they'll actually have a conversation. Adrian Mapp, the mayor of Plainfield, is also running for the 12th district seat, and has sought to draw a connection between Dr. Hamawy's positions on Israel and his past association with Mr. Abdulrahman. The association with the blind sheik was very telling, and it speaks to the character of an individual who is associated with an unsavory character, Mr. Mapp said. We ought to ask the question about the affiliation and what it says about the American people about a person who seeks to be a representative of Congress in the United States of America. Mr. Mapp noted that he does not blame Dr. Hamawy for his pro-Palestine stance. The Palestinian people need to be treated in a more humane fashion, he said. But he said he stood by his statement in Insider New Jersey that Dr. Hamawy's views were those of a radical extremist. Yeah, Dr. Hamawy's views are those of a radical extremist, folks. Why are they of those of a radical extremist, mind you? Because he has the what? Overwhelming majority position on Israel, that Israel is committing a genocide. He has the overwhelming position on Israel that we have to put an end to said genocide. Unbelievable work, dude. His positions are that of a radical is crazy. Jesse from Manhattan Institute, one of my main ops, as you guys know, says the people who are up in arms over genocide Josh Shapiro doing mandatory community service at an Israeli army base involving no military activity while volunteering on a kibbutz farm and a fishery in high school are now very upset over the suggestion that another Democratic politician who traveled abroad with an Islamist jihadist militant who spent life in prison for terrorism and seditious conspiracy to work for an al-Qaeda front might actually be an actual terrorist. Dude, I'm sorry. You have to literally be the most Islamophobic person on the fucking planet. I don't even think the average American would look at this association and be like, yeah, no, this guy is bad news. Again, all you need to do is Tammy Duckworth. All you need to do is point to literally 9/11 and be like, oh, really? So you think this guy is an al-Qaeda militant? The guy who fucking, who had no care or consideration for his own life, okay, who treated 9/11 first responders. The guy who, again, as an army combat medic, saved the lives of many in the military, and most famously, Tammy fucking Duckworth. Like, that's insane. Also, Josh Shapiro should have worked for the Israeli embassy. That's the reason why people ask him if he ever did espionage for a foreign country. So, you know, don't downplay that either, big dog. Yeah, he was playing the long game, dude. He was gonna fucking install the Islamic Caliphate, playing the motherfucking wrong game. A long game, sorry, not wrong game, for 40 plus years. It's just so ridiculous. It's nasty business. This kind of smearing is just nasty business, dude. I find his statements quite frankly to be inflammatory to accuse the Jewish state of Israel of a genocide, the mayor said. Yeah, that's not a radical extremist position, you fucking idiot. That's the overwhelming majority position, you fucking idiot. Oh God, these people are so stupid. Oh my God. Vincent Vertuccio, a spokesman for Dr. Hamawy, called it disappointing that a Democratic opponent would stoop to echoing right-wing MAGA smears. Most of Dr. Hamawy's opponents have left his path alone, but 2 of the 10 other Democratic candidates, Chanel Robinson and Brad Cohen, also told the Jewish Insider that his association with Mr. Abdulrahman raised questions in an article that was published on Friday. As a fellow veteran, I truly appreciate Adam's service to his country, and I know that it speaks to his patriotism, Ms. Robinson, a Somerset County commissioner, told the publication, but the voters will judge us on our entire adult lives, the choices we have made, and the people we associate with, regardless of whether it was 30 days ago or 30 years ago. The whole matter is of concern, Mr. Cohen, a gynecologist and a mayor of East Brunswick, said in an interview. It's an association with a terrorist. Dr. Hamawy suggests that any criticism of his trial testimony was linked to Islamophobia. As a Muslim, they're always going to find something to attack, he said. I'm used to this all my life. How Dr. Hamawy fares in Tuesday's primary election might serve as the latest gauge of what kinds of rhetoric resonates with Democratic voters in New Jersey when it comes to Israel. Earlier this year, in a race for governor, Mickey Sherrill's old seat in the neighboring 11th district, Ana Lilia Mejia was the only candidate in the contest that called the war in Gaza a genocide. She won her February primary against Tom Malinowski, a fellow Democrat who had been the target of negative advertising by a pro-Israel group after refusing to rule out placing conditions on U.S. military aid to that country, and then beat her Republican opponent in a landslide. Dr. Hamawy's showing on Tuesday might also shed light on whether a figure such as Mr. Abdulrahman, whose trial happened before some voters were alive, still looms in the minds of New Jersey Democrats in 2026. The sheik appeared to be far from the minds of the voters as Dr. Hamawy campaigned earlier this month in Trenton and a Princeton University forum sponsored by Young Democratic Socialists of America. Ricky Sanford, a retired Metropolitan Transportation Authority bus driver, had never met Dr. Hamawy before the candidate knocked on the door of his Trenton brownstone. He said he was mainly concerned about the cost of living candidates and candidates' willingness to take on President Trump. He don't mind going toe-to-toe against Mr. Trump, Mr. Stanford said. I like that part. Yep. Voters are like, I don't give a shit about some fucking blind sheik, dude. What are you talking about? You're talking to a decorated combat medic, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Seriously, what are we talking about? It's so crazy how, like, it's, god damn it. This is what I mean when I say, like, if you're Muslim, you just, oh, fuck. Not to do any goddamn idpol here, but it is genuinely insane to watch this kind of shit unfold, okay? If you're Muslim, and on top of that, God forbid you got to take on Israel, that the majority also believes, the majority also understands is the truth because it is the truth. Fantastic stuff overall. I don't think it's going to work, but it is really, really frustrating to see people still try to do this shit because it's disheartening. Like, it's 2026, man, and if you can do this to a guy like Adam Hamawy, I mean, you can do this to any fucking Muslim, right? They tried to do this with ZOHRAN too. It sucks. Yeah, they're pulling the Cuomo move against ZOHRAN, connecting him to the sheik. Yeah, and me, which is, again, the ZOHRAN method, which failed, by the way.